Hey, and welcome to an episode here on the Daily Narrative. We are going to be talking about this fictitious false flag USPS voter manipulation that the left is saying that Donald Trump is trying to do. Fictitious narrative, and we are going to see exactly why right now. All right, welcome back. This is great. You guys are here with us here on the Daily Narrative. This is Jeff. Really looking forward to having this conversation with you guys. If you're brand new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Give it a thumbs up, give it a thumbs down, leave some comments. But today we are going to be talking about the USPS, the United States Postal Service, and this fictitious narrative that the left would have you believe that the right, Donald Trump, is trying to manipulate voting or is trying to block voters from actually voting or citizens from actually voting. Fake narrative, completely false flag. Now, the point is there's a complete distinction. The left would have you believe that an absentee ballot and a vote by mail are the exact same thing. Couldn't be further from the truth. The mail-in voting is basically sending a voter registration form or a voter form, not registration form, but a voting form to every address on file. Anyone who's voted before gets one. Now the problem is that you get true voter manipulation, true voter suppression. You can get votes through intimidation. The problem is that nobody is actually applying for these for the voting for the voting, and I don't want to call it an application, but for your vote. Right, so it automatically just shows up at your house. There's no voter suppression when Donald Trump comes out and says this is a fraud waiting to happen. That there's true manipulation that can happen due to just randomly sending out these ballots. So the problem is that people move. Ballots go everywhere. I didn't apply for the ballot. Someone else gets my ballot and votes in my place. And then you have the intimidation factor. Someone could go in to a community and said, you all have to vote a certain way. Or the candidates come in and try to manipulate votes within certain communities. Again, whether it's through intimidation or I'm going to pay you for a vote. I'm going to give you $100 for you to vote a certain way. Now, can all that be found out? Of course it can. But the absentee ballot, on the other hand, is something that each individual voter actually has to go and register for through the Secretary of State. So you actually have to go, or through the supervisor of election. So depending on the state that you're in. So when you actually are, as a voter, registering for your absentee ballot, now it's on file that I requested that an absentee ballot be sent to me, meaning that when I go to the voting polls, then they have on record that I requested to vote through absentee ballot, and it's now their due diligence that needs to be done to say, well, you have an absentee ballot on file. We need to see that absentee ballot and void the absentee ballot so that you're not voting twice. Now with the mail-in ballot, you can mail in your ballot and you can go to the voting poll. Now, individuals can then potentially have two votes. So you have voter suppression. I tell you not to vote. I'm not going to allow you to mail it in. I'm going to destroy your ballot. You have voter intimidation, that I'm going to come as a group and intimidate how you're going to vote. Voter manipulation. I'm going to come as a group and I'm going to make sure that you all vote a certain way. Buying votes, I'm going to pay you for your vote. Or they will, obviously not me, but these are all the mechanisms to which with the mail-in ballot that you can defraud the system, and I'm sure there's others. Now again, with the absentee ballot, it's on file, it's registered for, it's a complete distinction in the way things work. Now, if you go into a voting poll area to vote, candidates aren't allowed to be within a certain distance to that polling space. And so you also decrease the intimidation factor. Now, we've seen in the past that individuals did try to intimidate voters. We saw it with I don't know if they were BLM or something else, maybe Nation of Islam, but they showed up at polling places with baseball bats or with sticks, and they said that they weren't trying to intimidate, but yet when you have a couple guys standing around with sticks, obviously there's some sort of an intimidation factor. Now, that is very obvious, and that can easily be removed. When it's done vote by mail, which again is a fraud to the system, you can't do that. There's no supervisory system in order to oversee to make sure that all of those elements are not going to be present. Again, voter suppression, intimidation, buying of votes, etc., 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 when you just mass mail these votes out. Now, one thing that did come to light through the USPS is that the United States Postal Service had sent in an application a year ago, over a year ago, February 8th of 2019, submitting a patent application for moving the voting system over to the blockchain overseen by the Postal Service. So, again, if this manipulation and saying that they're giving extra money to the USPS is a complete false narrative. We already know that there's issues within the USPS. This is another mechanism of the left to lie to the people and to transfer money into certain programs that they feel they can then manipulate to their way. Now, it's very destructive. It's very dangerous what they're doing. They're playing a very dangerous game. But again, this blockchain scenario that the USPS applied for over a year ago does allow for more transparency and regulation within a blockchain narrative, blockchain system, in order to make elections more honest, more fair and open, so that you could potentially have a vote from home scenario, maybe if it was done in a blockchain environment. So that's something that the USPS applied for a year and a half ago, although the patent application did publish just this month. So the publishing of this patent had nothing to do with this whole narrative, but I would recommend that you guys actually go and check it out. And I'm going to put a link to this USPS patent application in the description that is from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, a direct link to it. So that's my 2 cents on this matter. If you agree, disagree, let me know below. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe to the channel, and that way we can, well, obviously you'll come back and see more videos like this. And if you leave comments, we can keep this conversation going and going and going and going. Again, this is Jeff right here with the Daily Narrative, and I'm out.